And all these definitions, we can apply them to our bank.
A physical or spiritual, yeah.
In order to build our society. All these things are in there. All these things are things that we need to consider. That's basically what I'm trying to say. These are things that we need to consider in building our society. But we are skanking on the banging.
That's really interesting, because it reminds me of slavery, and it reminds me of the house niggers and the field niggers. You know, they divided them, and particularly with what you said about the Englishman's home being his castle, and having the moat, and having the people who are the complete outsiders like us, skanking on the banking. And again, we're outside.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting that Skanking was dancing.
Yeah.
And we're always dancing. Okay. I mean,
I was coming to that, sister.
Yeah, and they're always telling us to dance.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that we can be involved in their society. That's the only way that we'll be accepted, is if we dance.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the only way, and that's the only way they'll give us a little something.
If we sing and dance, you mean?
If we dance physically and spiritually, because when we dance spiritually, it means we let go of ourselves, and we be a clown for somebody else, because that's how they had the court jesters, weren't they?
Yes, ma'am.
And the court jester was only useful as far as he made the king or whoever was in charge laugh. When they weren't laughing anymore, when they weren't entertaining them anymore, then they either killed them or got rid of them or relegated them to something else. But
yeah.
It's quite interesting that the skanking again, you know, the dance. Even in, I love the film Jerry Maguire. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And Rod is saying, "Don't tell me to dance," because he's saying, he was saying that they're saying that he's got a chip on his shoulder because he's a brother, and he doesn't want to dance. He knows about the business, and he wants to make it big. He knows
what he's worth.
Yeah, and his wife knows what he's worth, and she's not having any less, and she's not tolerating him having any less. And he's saying to Jerry Maguire, "Don't you tell me to dance. Don't you tell me to dance. I'm not going to dance."
And because he won't dance, he's having a hard time.
Yeah.
They're not bringing him in. They're leaving him outside on the banking. He can't come into the castle.
Until
he's got ants up his wall. You know, he's living in a house and it's crumbling. Yeah. And there's rain coming in and water coming in.
Yeah.
And he can't be brought in.
Yeah.
He wants to be brought in. But they don't want to bring him in until he is subject to status. In their definition of subject to status, which is not wanting to build your own society.
And that's really interesting, because that goes back to one of the things that you were saying to Daniel. I was listening to you talking to Daniel, and you were saying there's a saying, you never give a man a weapon until you teach him how to dance.
That's right.
So when that dancing is a form of submission. So when you're able to submit, that's when they give you a weapon. So when you dance for them, whoever it is who's in authority, if we dance for those people in this society, then they'll give us a weapon because they know that we're going to use it against one another.
Because we've been trained how to use it.
Exactly, because we're not being ourselves.
It's actually an African proverb.
Yeah.
You never give a man a weapon until he learns how to dance, because you learn to dance, or we should learn to dance with our family. That's where you should learn to dance, with your family and your community. And you can imagine, you know, the drums being played and they're all doing the moves, and the brothers are doing the moves. The brothers are doing the moves, and they're learning how to dance, but they're learning how to dance as a collective, as a family. That means you know your place in the orchestra.
Yeah.
You know your place, and you're not going to put a step out of step to mess with the balance of the family. So once you understand your place in the family structure, in the community structure, you can give that brother a weapon, and that will become an accumulative part of a weapon, not a weapon that's going to be destructive to somebody in a family. Whereas this is what we have in our communities now, where you have the black on black violence, where we don't know how to dance, not physically dance, but dance mentally and submit yourself, because you've got to submit to the music. When you dance, what is the music? Are we talking about music, beats music, or are we talking about the Allah God's rhythm
and frequency?
You know, when we learn how to submit to Allah God's beat and Allah God's rhythm, we are dancing. We are in time and in tune. And when you give a man like that a weapon, he's not going to turn it on his sister, on his brother, and on his community, and on his nation. And that's what the enemy fear. When you dance for the worldly society now, that's destruction for your family, community, and nation.
Of course.
That is the end of your family, community, and nation. You're making mockery of yourself in front of the world, and that damages us, you know. And this is why a lot of the time when we see black people on the TV, we're cringing. Are they gonna come, you know, as they are, or are they gonna dance for massa?
And that's one of the things about Minister Farrakhan. He never danced for no one apart from Allah. Never. Yeah. And that's one of the things we love about him. And he said it. He's never sold himself. He's never sold us down the river. None of that. He's always been consistent, and he's always stood for truth, regardless.
But one of the reasons why I think brothers and sisters do it, or I hear them say that you've got to do that just to get in. And once we get in, we are banking on that word again. Bank. We're banking on the benevolent system to, you know, allow us through, you know. We're banking on them to allow us to do what we need to do or what we should be doing once we're through. But it never happens, you know.
Because our memory banks are obviously...
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. We're stuck.
Yeah.
And we don't draw on that bank, on our memory bank, to see that actually they've never let us through. They're never going to let us through. We're never going to be a part of this society. We're never going to feel like a part of this society because it's not ours, and they don't want us to be a part of it. And the only time we actually hear them calling black people English or anything is when we win a gold medal for them.
That's right.
Then you're as English as you like.
That's right. You can come in for a while.
Yeah, that's right.
But you still can't straighten up and fly right. You got a bank.
According to them.
In gangster-lean, boy. Got a bank in your spirit.
Yeah.
In your spiritual sense,
Yes,
you got
you
to
do.
bank. Anyway, the Honourable Elijah Muhammad said the bank was the hearts of his people. That is a very deep understanding of the word bank. The hearts of the people are the bank. So if the hearts of the people are diseased, then the bank isn't
as productive.
It's not strong. It's
Yeah.
not. It's a bank that can fall. Like, you know, we're seeing these banks fall now. Like there's that big bank in the States.
I can't remember what it's called
that
now.
Freddie Mac or whatever it is.
That's right, and Fannie Mae.
And Fannie
Thank
Mae.
you. And you know, they're saying that, I think they were saying that English people are buying them out, you know. English banks are buying them out.
And in the UK we had Northern Rock.
Yeah.
And we had, before that, years ago, BCCI. We have all these banks that are falling. They're diseased. There's corruption. And if there's corruption in the hearts of the people, our hearts need to be cleansed first. So the bank of the people needs to be cleansed. At the moment, we're skanking on the banking. Our banking is non-existent. The definition of skanking I've got here, you already said it's dancing. It actually was in the dictionary. I didn't think it'd be in there. But a person perceived to be extremely sleazy or unpleasant. It's a skank.
Similar to skunk.
Yeah, skank. Yeah.
And that's what they call females. I've heard them call females
Yeah,
skank.
that's the definition in derogatory. A promiscuous woman, the office skank. Yeah.
Interesting that they're saying the office skank.
Yeah. A steady-paced dance performed to reggae music characterized by a rhythmically bending forward, raising the knees and extending the hands, the palms downwards. Skank. It's the skank. That's the one we was talking about. Skank.
Yeah.
Dancing, because we're dancing, and sometimes, you know, when we're dancing, so many things can be pulled past our eyes because we're busy skanking.
Yeah, and submitting ourselves to the music.
And you know, one of the things of reggae music, it was always the marijuana, which also deadens the mind.
And still does.
And still does. And when you're in that state,
I don't know if you realise it's still.
when you're in that state, you know, so much things can be missed. We skanking on our banking. We're not banking. We're not remembering. You know, when you're smoking that stuff, your memory goes.
Yeah, it
I
does.
speak to certain brothers today who've been on it for years, and they can't remember stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
And it also messes with our minds in terms of us being paranoid as well. You know.